those who were on the call last week, welcome back again. And for those who are doing this for the first time, Dr. Idiculla has been with us for a few sessions, and he's been kind enough to spare his valuable time with us. Thomas Idiculla is a doctor and is the director of the Mental Health Services Evaluation at the McLean Hospital and an instructor in psychiatry at the Harvard Medical School. He, before the pandemic, he used to travel extensively into India. He used to come regularly into India and other parts of the world. He's well known when it comes to issues of counseling, both with couples as well as young people. And we thank God for his life. Without further delay, I just want to say a big thank you for Dr. Idiculla's time and for the session that we're doing. Over to you, Doctor, this evening. I think you're muted, Doctor. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Thank you, Brother John. I appreciate Hope Team for organizing this series of talks around family and marriage during this most difficult time. And today, I'm pleased to share with you few practical tips on resolving conflicts in marriage during COVID-19. There's a saying that locks are never made without a key. Similarly, God never gives us problems without solutions. Only we need to have patience to unlock them. I would be talking about what is a marriage conflict. What causes conflict in marriage? What are the most common things that spark marital conflict? How do married couples deal with conflicts? And from a counseling point, what is conflict resolution in marriage? And at the end, I would like to give you some guidelines for conflict resolution. More specifically, I will be discussing one of the established model developed by Prepare and Enrich, which I often use in marital counseling, the 10 steps for resolving conflict. And also I will add, what does the Bible say about conflict in marriage? Many couples found themselves navigating new challenges after being confined together at home, especially in the last 3 months. This can put couples in conflict, especially during this anxious time. Living through this COVID-19 pandemic is extremely stressful for anyone. Often we develop negative mind behavior, criticism, becoming contempt, not always able to vent or voice our frustrations, but especially when we vent and share those frustrations, it can affect many concerns and problems in family. Communicating under stress often means having tough and rough conversation. That is not only with your spouse, with anyone. But because of the intimacy, it can get worse. That is a reality. The pandemic stress, the pressures of working from home, school closures, financial difficulty have caused rise in abusive behavior in couples' life. I would like to give some tips for couples in resolving some of these common conflicts and help in getting along while communicating more effectively during this difficult time. And the most important thing I want you to aware about is check your communication patterns, which is very important for us to assess as we look into the conflict resolution patterns. How is your communication between husband and wife in the past 7 days? In the traditional counseling circles, usually we look at warm to tom history when we have a problem. But psychologists found that when you look at anyone's life, always issues and challenges. The most critical at this point to look at is what is your past 1 week? And how do you resolve conflicts in your marriage? What about your style and habits? How do you handle money? What is the intimacy between husband and wife? How you are connected to your extended family, especially in the Indian circles. The in-laws connection is one of the most common predictor in understanding a couple's intimacy. Conflicts are everywhere. The first and foremost thing to understand is that conflict is a reality. It is natural. It's in the workplace, it's in the church, it's in the community. And to some extent, it is inevitable and unavoidable. And that is how we learn things when we resolve and become a mature person, especially in marriage. And all couples do have differences and disagreements. And conflict is normal and natural process in the development of a relationship, especially in marriage. This couple's response could either break or make the relationship. Conflict is not always a bad thing. Just keep that in mind as we discuss this. In fact, when handled with a respectful, non-abusive spirit, it can lead to a stronger and satisfying marriage. In marriage, conflict occurs when the needs and desires of spouses diverge and thus incompatible at the end. The intimacy in the marriage suffers when conflicts remain unresolved for a long period of time. And in some marriages, the inability to successfully resolve the conflicts can lead to verbal abuse, physical abuse, sometimes separation or even divorce. That's a costly affair. Many people don't pay attention until there is a major issue. It's like our car, minor issue people just forget. But minor issue, what you are seeing in the dashboard, some signals is having an underlying problem. It may cost you less to fix at that point. Aristotle once said, anyone can become angry. That is easy. But to be angry with the right person, to the right degree, at the right time, for the right purpose, in the right way is the secret. That is not easy. When I look at in India what is happening, each year close to 10 million, that is 1 crore marriages happening. And which means 20 million people or 2 crores people are getting married every year. That's a big industry, but very little help available for these people. This is one of the major decisions a person takes, especially how to resolve conflicts in marriage. And all these couples anticipate living happily for the rest of their life. However, only a small group of people or couples continues in harmonious relationship. The divorce rate in India is increasing among the young married couples. That is based on the Hindustan Times, the most recent survey. In addition to that, the research shows that 60% of the marriages are unhappy, which means 6 out of 10. That is majority. I have spent close to 25 years in counseling couples whose dreams of happy marriage have been shattered due to the personality differences, intimacy issues, in-laws issues, financial issues, and so on. I believe that many of these struggles and conflicts in marriage could have been avoided if the couple taken time to prepare more thoroughly for their marriage. As I said earlier, conflict is inevitable. However, the most important thing for you to know is the discovery of your new learning, approaching this in a way not to fight back, but to resolve these conflicts is wisdom. And conflicts in marriage arise due to many, many reasons. And one of the most common thing that I have seen for the cause of many marriage conflict is selfishness, a kind of temperament, fault and weakness in the person's life. Sometimes the person may have an unintended emotional injury, and those people may avoid from the spouse. That leads to lack of self-confidence. Again, sequentially it goes to another negative step, withdrawal or end of a discussion. Well, when there is a discussion, that may escalate into another debate or a fight. In some couples, it may be mocking, or it may be even kind of belittling, where people put the spouse down. Sometimes false belief. It can be your spirituality. It can be about certain culture, certain practice, certain norm, All this needs to be clarified when you come to the discussion table. Those next few minutes, I would like to focus more on assess in your marriage, is there any marriage conflict? Thus, pay attention. This is not to check outside. Just ask yourself whether any of these conflicts is present in your marriage. As I said earlier, in all couples, in all marriages, you have issues. Because nobody is free from that. That this is not the time to look at the eyes of your spouse. Just look at your life and evaluate how you see the troubles. Do you accuse each other? That's the first thing. Do you provoke each other when there is an accusation? Do you turn bitter out of irritation? Do you become anxious then? How long does it make you to make up? In Indian couples, I would say in three days. Men sometimes don't take the food for a few days. That's a coping pattern. And I have seen some of them don't sleep together. Then some of them communicate through the children. And some of them, it will making phone calls to other people to show that, how that person is free and happy. That is a reaction to the spouse. How long does it take it to reconcile? Those things are also very critical here. Many times Christians come back to this discussion table. Do you know why? Because of pastor, because of Sunday or Friday they have to go to church. That's primary reason sometimes they settle the matter. Again, Monday it starts. It's become like a cyclic thing for many people's life. Thus, what are the major causes of marriage conflict? Number one thing, as I said earlier, is selfishness, a form of temperament, very predictable behavior. And sometimes the background of the person, that person acted always like that. And in some couples' life, it's the money. Some people are so much into it. Money controls their life. And sometimes their faith and spirituality. I've seen that many family prayers, some couples who are very spiritual fight like cats and dogs in the prayer meeting for a theological thing or for what they believe. And that is a very sad thing. Just look at the temperament part. One may be active and aggressive, or other may be sensitive and emotional. Men tend to be more kind of a performance-oriented kind of approach. Women tend to value the more kind of the color, the design, more beauty-oriented. Then look at the background here. Well, the nature that I found is one may come from a happy, organized, disciplined home, maybe your wife. Imagine your husband coming from completely a opposite, different background. There will be a clash because they are coming from different background. One may come from a family where communication with one another was very easy. And the partner may be from a family where they never shared their feelings and activities together with one another. That definitely there can be some gap there. The another issue is money management. That's a big cause of conflict in many couples' life. Very seldom do people see money or such kind of a management exactly in the same way. One may like to spend it on a certain thing. The other may not consider it as unnecessary and wasteful. One may be keen on saving money. Other may feel money is for spending. Especially ladies are pretty good with shopping. They see some ad and they get not just that item, they get a lot of other things. When the credit card comes, husbands start asking, what's going on here? That become another nightmare. Then spiritual status. One may find it easier to trust in God everything, like a little child, while the other may find it difficult to cast all cares upon the Lord. That is a common thing which I see in many couples' life. And many couples' life, what I have seen as a common, especially in the Indian couples' life, one thing which is very clear that women are very prayerful. Men are not. Thus, women develop certain kind of a lack of respect when it comes to men. You are not spiritual. And men also do have some kind of complaints that, yeah, you pray quite a lot, but when I talk to you, when I argue, I can understand your spirituality. So they disconnect, they fight. Thus, one may like to reason out things, and one may weak in controlling one's temper and tongue. The partner just the opposite it can be. These are all reality things. The fourth thing that will many times I see in the couple's life is selfishness. Human personality is rooted in deep self-centeredness. Thus, we don't need to go to a school or college to understand our selfishness. But the sad part is our brain, your brain will never convince you to say that you are selfish, because both you and your brain are the same. They are in agreement. They are in defensive mode. So someone has to put a gun on your face to convince you you are selfish. Until then, nobody is going to agree that you are selfish. Thus, we are always defensive. To some extent, it protects your peace. Thus, being centered in selfish interest, one is concerned with getting instead of giving. As soon as getting stops, love ceases, all these things. The selfishness makes love turn kind of a sour, whenever it is not returned in the expected way. Thus, conflicts arise when genuine self-giving love is absent. I will repeat that. Conflict arises when genuine self-giving love is absent. Jesus was very clear in the kingdom principles. When you look at, say, having a selfless and self-denial, that is one of the most respected value and virtues in Christian life. The story I have shared you in the past about a wife who yelled at her husband while looking at the credit card monthly statement. And she said, "I don't understand you." And she yelled at her husband and said, "You are irresponsible. You have no idea how you are managing this in home. Why you did this?" Her frustration with her husband was mounting. The tone was also changing. They got into a big fight. Finally, they called for help. And they joined marital counseling through this Zoom. That's the only way now we can help people. And they are not even sitting close to one another. I could see their face that both of them are looking very tense, very stressful. And her husband shook his head and looked into his wife's eyes. Then very calmly, I told the husband, "Just relax, cool down. I can fully understand your frustrations. We are here to resolve that conflict." Then very gently, I told that lady, his wife, that you talk faster than your husband. Just slow down. I need to understand what's going on here. And she processed very faster than her husband. I asked both of them, here you are here to make some decisions to resolve the conflicts. Either you want to win or you want to resolve the problems. It took a while for them to respond to that question. I added, if you want the solution, you need to slow down. I can understand your problem, but we will work out and resolve the conflicts. Immediately, the lady said, her approach is the best solution. Look at how people think. And the husband said, she has no clue about the financial management because the husband is coming from that area of his position itself is a financial advisor. Thus, he thinks that he's an expert in that. And the wife is not accepting him about his skills. It took another 30 minutes to bring them to the common ground. I gently told them, you guys are winning individually, but you are losing as a couple. That's not a solution here. If you want to continue in this marriage, you may win, but it may cost your marriage. Well, I think they got the point. Then the wife very softly and gently told me, you accurately identified and described our conflict. Yes, the ego, the pride. They selected the best solution. Now they're working together happily to solve the conflicts and moving on. The true selfish nature of couple is understood not when they are in agreement, when they disagree. And there are many stories like that. There is a story of Susie and John where the of the TV versus the the washing machine, color TV, and Susie wants to buy a washing machine, but they didn't have the money to buy both of it. They've been fighting for months. Both are not willing to give up. In the end, the problem becomes that it affected them. I was preparing for a trip, for an international trip. That's a call. Thus, I can leave this place. That's the point. They just slow down. And I said, I have 2 minutes to solve this because I need to go for another trip. I mentioned that, yes, first let's buy the washing machine, and then when you have money, get the TV. Both of them agreed very quickly. Then I asked, what was the problem before? Ego, pride. No, lack of, they don't want to discuss it. This is a classic example in how we can apply some rational steps, some established steps to resolve some of the common problems in our community, in our families. Finally, they are working together peacefully now. The psychologists classify couples into 5 groups. We discussed that in detail based on the communication patterns and conflicts. And couples with good communication, do you have that or not? Vitalize the couple. Honey couples. I call them energetic couples. They sit very close. They use the words very, very positively always. No negative interaction. And the second one is the harmonious couples. This is an area where they always look for a resolution, and they never go to bed without resolving their problems. There's a good percentage of them in this group have very good resolution, marriage conflict resolution skills. And they don't have major problems also. And the third one is these traditional couples, I would say somewhat agreeable couples. They are very conventional types. 60% of them belong to that. When I look at most of the people who attend a seminar like this or webinar, they may fit into that. Hardworking, church-going, spiritual, they respect one another, they do all kinds of things, taking care of their children. There's one issue with this couple. If they sit and talk more than 10 minutes, they bring something from the past, they irritate one another. That's where we have to bring the conflict. The fourth one is, once you continuously negatively interacting and the conflicts are not resolved, you move to a conflicted couple status. Always, no matter what. Even if you say good things, it is interpreted as bad. It can continue for a long period of time. They never resolve their conflict. There is no respect between each other. And the last one is the most dangerous group, that is coupled with poor communication skills, where they are inactive couples. They break up. They fight very badly. Sometimes the verbal conflict can lead to a physical fight and domestic violence, sometimes legal battle. And they get into the bottom sometimes where they don't want to see each other. Well, such couples are not safe. Thus, you have to look at what level of conflict you are going through. Are you a vitalized honey couple or harmonious couple? When there is a problem, you sit and talk and resolve the problems? Or you are a traditional couple working so hard, you don't have the intimacy that is needed. And the third one is you are always bitter. You are feeling so reactive. You don't expect any change in your marriage. Or the last one, you are looking for an exit from the marriage. Thus, you can see the different levels here. In all these problems and conflicts, there are some common elements. I would call it the 10 major causes of marriage conflicts. The top one, which cause marriage conflicts. As I said earlier, the first one is selfishness. It's all about me. The whole world is revolving around me. I need to control everyone. and they have a dominating effect on the others. The second I consider the cash flow issues, the money management. The third one is the spiritual status of the couples. Those who are driven by the will of the flesh instead of will of God. Thus, this is in conflict always. Thus, when it comes to marriage, this can be more problematic. Then broken promises, lack of trust, lack of honesty in the relationship. The fifth one is extramarital relationship, affairs, or even it can be a paranoia or unfulfilled fantasies and lack of intimacy in marriage. Sexuality becomes a problem in those cases. They are not interested to one another, but they are interested in others. The best way to overcome this crisis is through mutual understanding. They have more temptation, conflicts in marriage. The sixth one is unresolved conflicts, maybe in-laws issue, or it can be an anxiety or personal situation. Lack of communication, especially men don't communicate very well with their spouse, but women wants to communicate. That there is a conflict there. Lack of respect for each other, not paying attention to spouse. Always wanted to be Mr. and Mrs. Right. Well, hurting, teasing, annoying, and worrying. Some of the habits which don't encouraging to one another. Again, couples often battle each other over how to raise children, parenting style difference. This is a very common problem in Indian families. And the last one I would say, which is becoming an issue because of the COVID-19, the alcohol addiction, substance use, which because they don't have any place to go, friends will bring it, they have a go meet in the backyard. I got a few complaints in the past few weeks, concerns. Alcohol leads to verbal and domestic violence in marriage, mentally and socially distressed, and it affects your stability. Thus, how do you evaluate this kind of problems in your marriage? And you should have a checklist of things, what is happening, and how severe these things, and how you are resolving with your natural ability or your faith, resolving some of these things. And sometimes people say, we have no love for one another. We are more than likely, we don't talk anymore. And my husband or wife make all the decisions now. And well, finances, we don't agree. We have separate bank accounts. And we don't have any real intimacy. We are just like two individuals or two friends. The next few minutes, I would like to share you, when you have one of these problems, how you can resolve these conflicts in marriage through following a 10-step for resolving conflicts in marriage. 10-step. Thus, all couples, as I said, have differences and disagreements, and study shows that the amount of disagreements are not related to marital happiness. The most important thing is how the disagreements in your marriage are handled. Okay? Happy couples do not avoid disagreements. They resolve them while remaining respectful to each other. Therefore, they can strengthen their relationship. Thus, this 10-step model is a simple but effective way to resolve conflict while avoiding the common destructive patterns. Use this model, use these 10 steps with an ongoing issue. If you can use it between just both of you, that is the right thing to do. But if you are not able to sit and talk, sometimes you have to include a person, maybe your pastor or maybe a respected person, but make sure that person loves you, respects you, and it's not like a one-sided friend. The first step is to set up a time and place for discussion. The reason why I'm sharing this is, when you have a disagreement, you get very angry, you get very stressful, speak words which are not in the dictionary. The blood will be boiling. That's not the time to sit and talk. Thus, anytime when you have a that never apply the 10 step at that particular point. Okay. Thus, you need to set a time, place of discussion, and find a good time to talk. Set the time and place for discussion. Well, talk to each other peacefully, with or without a counselor. That is the first thing to do. Thus, that way you have a plan. That is how even workplace situations and any formal issues, when it comes to that, there is a way to resolve problem. Second step is define the problem. Don't discuss 10 things. We are here to meet to discuss one problem. It's like an agenda for the meeting. You don't want to revisit all the things that happened at the time of marriage and engagement 20 years back. That's a waste of time. Then you have no interest. That is, you go to a court and to defend something, you do it, prosecute somebody. Here, to rebuild your marriage, not to prosecute your spouse. Thus, you need to be very careful. Thus, what is the agenda? Be specific. What is the problem? Explain exactly the problem. Discuss the discrepancy. For example, John and Susie's example, John wants to buy a new 75-inch TV, but his wife, Susie, wants to buy a new washing machine. That is the problem. Thus, we are not discussing about their personality at this point, that particular issue only. Then the third step is list how you contribute to each other to the problem. How much Susie contributes to the problem? How much John contributes to the problem? Here in this case, 50-50. Learn to distinguish between real problems and minor ones. Listen actively. Men have a problem in listening actively because they somehow men think they know the issue, they know the solution. But both are not willing to give up. Thus, a third step is to listen to each other and speak loud and clear what you are contributing to the problem. Your shareholder, share in the problem. The fourth one is list past attempts to resolve the issue that were not successful. Yes or no? List previous attempts that did not fix the problem because both are not willing to give up. That may be the reason. The fifth step I would say is discuss possible solutions to the problem. Discuss solution more in terms of suggestions. At that stage, don't judge or criticize one another. Avoid pointing fingers. You should first buy a washing machine. Then when it comes to buying a TV, yes, go ahead with that. That's what council decided. The sixth principle step is discuss and evaluate each of these possible solutions. Be as objective as much as possible. Discuss and evaluate each of these possible solutions where objectivity is very important. Respect is important. And the seventh step is try one solution that you both agree. Stick to one solution. Don't jump to conclusion. Give your spouse the benefit of the doubt. Don't put words in their mouth. The eighth step here is agree how you will work on this solution. Be specific as much as possible. Learn how each other can work towards a solution. Be as clear as possible. And also how much you contribute to resolve this problem. And the ninth step is set up another meeting, peaceful way to discuss your progress, date, time. Set up another meeting so that you can peacefully evaluate what is working, what is not working. And the last one is reward the progress for each other. For example, if your wife is making an extraordinary effort to resolve these things, you reward. Same thing with the husband. Reward each other the progress. Appreciate your spouse. Focus on the positive behaviors of your spouse. Don't be shy. And also avoid future conflicts. That is a very common established 10-step model here to resolve conflicts in marriage. This is not only in marriage, in any instances when there is a difference of opinion or an ongoing disciples love during this difficult time. Let us not forget that forgiveness is one of the important things in your marriage. So learn to forgive yourself. Don't blame for minor offenses. And it is very difficult to live with people who cannot understand or correct their mistakes. Showing your love and affection for a person is a motivation for your spouse to do so. Thus, your partner may not respond the way you want sometimes. Knowing that the spouse is not the fault, but the person of the individual will result in a lot of family life when it comes to respect and forgiveness. Thus, what you need to do in this case, I have to give some advice for you. Imagine you have only 4 fingers. You don't have 5 fingers. You learn to work with 4 fingers. Okay, that is how the personality works. Know your partner's personality. Be aware of your strength and weakness. Acknowledge that what you did was wrong and harmful. You need to say just sorry. Try to understand the pain you caused. Take responsibility to your actions. Make sure your partner, you will not do it again. And respect and pray for one another and for each other. As the Bible says, slow to speak and quick to listen. Be humble, selfless, and be having a Christ-like attitude. Be loving and honest, and a willingness to forgive and apologize and move forward in life. As I said earlier, when a lock is made, the blacksmith builds its keys also. In the same way, God does not give any unresolved problem in our life. It just requires some patience to open up. Just complete your dedication. Be a positive communicator. Express the unconditional love. And a quick involvement in finding to resolve this problem timely. These are essential ingredients of a happily marriage life. There's a saying that the lips that speak the truth, the voice of prayer, the gentleness of compassion, the supportive hands, the loving heart, the smiling face, and all these things praises of a marital life. Remember, your character is visible not when you agree, but when you are in disagreement with one another. Thus, let me give you some practical suggestions. As I'm getting a lot of personal comments, I'm trying to adjust some of these things in my talk. As you are, I can see, all these questions are coming in the chat. Very encouraging. Let me make little changes in my practical. A lot of people asking for practical things now. There's practical suggestions for resolving marital conflicts. Well, disagreements should be seen as an opportunity for growth. Do you believe that? Instead of trying to solve the problem my way or your way, work for a solution that represents our way. Therefore, don't use the word you, I. As much as possible, use we in a conflict resolution. Even minor problems, even if it's not resolved quickly, well, avoid to become a bigger problem. And the second practical step I would say is avoid trying to win all arguments. Never forget that your relationship with your partner is more important than winning or being right. And the third personal suggestion I would make here is try to identify the main problem. Many times when we talk about main problem, they bring all the minor issues. Thus, you need to prioritize that. Problems often arise because of events or issues that hide the real problem. The easiest way to solve the problem is to take on the task and do it with mutual respect. The fourth suggestion I would say here is be honest and loving. That's very important. Remember, love does not keep a record of mistakes. Be quick to forgive and try to admit when you make mistakes. I would give one more practical step in terms of resolving the conflicts. Stay away from people who are trying to control your marriage. It may be your best friend, maybe your parents, in-laws. Well, your marriage is more important, more than friends, more than your extended families, more than your work. Your marriage comes first. Don't listen to friends or family when they are not helping you. If they may be helping you, but make sure they are helping your marriage. If you see something that you dislike, you should first talk to your partner. Only then you should discuss with others. All important decisions must be taken together. Bank account, loan, vacation. All these are important factors in success in marital life. Thus, when conflict arises in communication, what you should do? That is a question brought by another person, that is, deal with anger. That is a common emotion. The first step I would say is take a temporary time out, 3 minutes to an hour. Speak the best speech. When most people make a best speech when they're angry, later they regret. Well, be careful. Proverbs chapter 30, verse 33 says, so the forcing of wrath produces strife. Even Ephesians chapter 4, verse 26 says, be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your wrath. Therefore, we must examine your anger. Getting angry is not a sinful thing, but you have to ask yourself, why am I angry here? You have to learn from it. Maybe better you talk. When conflict arises as a result of communication, examine your anger. Why am I getting angry? Talk calmly, peacefully if possible, or take a break. Sometimes you have to allow your spouse to talk. Practice listening skills. Because when you talk so much, what happens is your anger and frustration goes up. Listen to facts and feelings, because both have a place. Seek to understand, put the shoes of your spouse. Express understanding by verbalizing it. What are you saying? Make a lot of sense. Ask what I can do to help. How can we solve this problem? Well, couples often uses different lenses, 3 lenses in interactions. The first one is an emotional lens. Positive reactions like possessiveness of the spouse, becoming very supportive. Sometimes it can be negative also, this emotional, looking through this emotional lens. Blaming, not understanding, not loving, or even in-laws issues. This emotional lens, sometimes couples use both positively and negatively. Then come the intellectual lens, very rational type. Positively, for example, do the right thing, say the right thing. But negatively, somebody can manipulate the love, sex, money, property. That is a selfish rationalization. Then there is a spiritual lens. For example, positively praying more, unconditional love, forgiving. These are spiritual attributes. But negatively, somebody can manipulate it, calling your spouse imperfect person, difficult person, different person, not saying, I mean, using your spirit, your belief to convict a person instead of helping a person. Believe that God made your marriage for a mission. So conflicts must be resolved quickly to fulfill God's mission in your life. God has a plan for you. Thus, marriage is to be a window through which the world can see the nature of Christ's love, not the conflicts. Many times, we cannot control these conflicts, but we can control how we respond to it. In my 25 years, as I said earlier, one thing I can say with confidence, especially in the marriage couples conflict, when you look at any problems in marriage can be resolved, I will put 2 conditions. Provided a God-fearing attitude. Number 1. Second one, you need to be a forgiving person. You got it? That is critical. You need to be a God-fearing person. We are all imperfect people. We know that. But a God-fearing attitude will bring God's love, God's forgiveness, God's grace, and God's favor in your life. Since God has forgiven you as a person, you must forgive your spouse, whatever it takes. When you have these 2 things work together, you will rebuild your marriage. You will help your spouse to be a perfect person. And your spouse will help you to be a perfect person. There's a beautiful advice to save your marriage. Whenever you find your spouse wrong, bad or rude at the point of time, at least tell your spouse before you telling your parents and others. Those who spend their time looking for the fault, usually they have no time to find their own problems. Try your best to communicate peacefully with your spouse. If necessary, consult a marriage counselor. And also, when there is a problem and conflict in marriage, learn how to say, "I'm sorry." Taking responsibility for your action, it's a sign of maturity and love. It also makes it much easier for the other person to be able to forgive you. This truthful lips, prayerful voice, the sympathetic eyes, a loving heart will resolve any conflict in marriage. Make all major decisions jointly. Always answer the phone when your husband or wife calls you. Try to keep your phone off when you are talking or sitting together with your spouse. Speak lovingly and respectfully to each other. Your words matter, but the tone of these words matters too. Never keep secrets from each other. A painful truth is always better than hidden lie. Never lie to each other. Lies break trust, and trust is the foundation of marriage. When you make mistakes, admit it. Humbly seek forgiveness. You should be quick to say, "I was wrong. I'm sorry. Please forgive me." Be open. When your husband or wife breaks your trust, give them your forgiveness instantly, which will promote healing. Create the opportunity to trust one another. Real love is when you're completely committed to someone. When you are become completely, that will work out. Rule out extreme stress, anger, in-laws interference, even ministry burnouts, lust of money, unwanted relationships, too much of social media addiction. These are toxins in intimacy. Be your spouse's biggest friend, a person who empowers your spouse, not criticizing for everything. Never talk badly about your spouse. I will conclude here with the 10 commandments of marriage. That will help you to resolve any conflicts. The first one is, I shall honor God through my marriage. Second one, I shall not take the covenant of marriage lightly. The third one, I shall not have another person in my life to fulfill my marital needs. Fourth, I shall not share the details of my marriage with anybody else, good or bad, other than a counseling situation, confidential way. The fifth one, I shall not watch, read, expose myself to sexually explicit materials. This is destroying many couples, many marriages. Sixth principle, I shall remember the implications of breaking this covenant and commandment before God. Seventh principle, I shall not be selfish. I shall not be a selfish pig. That is what one author said. The eighth one, I shall forgive my spouse, not 7 times, 490 times, even more. Well, the ninth one, I shall keep my home fire. That is prayer every day, no matter what. And the last one, I shall leave my family and cleave to my spouse, becoming one with. That is leaving, cleaving, and weaving. That's another topic. I hope you'll be able to follow these 10 commandments in your life. These are 10 commandments for your marriage. And I would like to open up for questions now. I'm sure that you have, some of these questions have been answered. But the most important thing I would like to share here is this information that you heard today is not to judge your spouse, to judge yourself, to build your marriage. As the Bible says, love always protect, always trust, always hope, always persevere. Love never fails. Thus, honest relations are just like water. No color, no shape, no place, but still very important. Thus, be humble, apply these principles in your life, God bless you with these words.
Thank you so much, Dr. Idiculla, for those foundation principles. I like the 10 commandments bit. I'm going to listen to that again. I don't think I've heard that before. So thank you for that. I'm going to listen to the recording. So yes, open to questions. People who have questions, I think you can chat with us straight away. So
mic is enabled.
Mic is enabled? Okay. So you can probably unmute and then ask Doctor the question, and we can take a few questions now.
Will the recording be available to us as well?
Say that again?
Will the recording of this session will be made available to us as well?
Yes, if you want the recording, please let us have your either email ID or phone number, and we'll send it to you.
Please,
Please drop it in the chat and to the host, and we will get back to you.
Okay.
Doctor, I think there is a message, there's a question on the chat. What if there is no love in a marriage?
no love in marriage, which means if you can mute your mic, that would be appreciated. There is no love in marriage. Is it possible? It is possible. The question is, the person who is communicating this, asking this question is the problem, or the other person is jointly, right? This is a much bigger question when you are asking. Marriage is all about love. When you say there is no love in marriage, there is a fundamental problem here. The way I see is definitely that person needs to do an assessment. What is causing this problem? Who is causing the problem? And are they really agreed to work on some solutions? The first you have to assess the reason for that. Let me tell you from a Christian point, there is no love in ourselves. Okay? We need love from God to love your spouse. But that makes sense. What we have is doubt, stress, criticism. That is the nature of the flesh. There is nothing good in us. We have to accept our inability. That's why the Christian theology, when you look at it, God has created us in the image of God. Somehow we are damaged by evil. We are sinners. Only through Christ we can restore our image and identity. Thus, the root cause of one side, it is a spiritual issue, put that way, why you are not able to love. Then there is another thing. Yes, it is a spiritual issue, and your spouse and yourself are willing to change, which is a faith and obedience situation, right? The fun side, faith, which is a spiritual side, obedience is a practical thing, something which you have to put things in place. Thus, understanding these things and understanding what is marriage is all about, what is the purpose of marriage, and helping one another. Or it can be a situation where these couples may have some mental health issues. I don't know, I'm just giving you some examples. Or there is a personality issue there, or they are going through some external issue. Thus, you have to be very careful why there is no love. Is it a new issue or is it an ongoing issue? Definitely, as I said earlier, as long as they are God-fearing, they are willing to forgive and sit and talk, any problem can be resolved. The most important thing I would say here is follow the basic rules in marriage. That alone can bring 50% of the result. Then things are not resolved, definitely you need to seek help. Next question.
Any other question?
There are few questions came in the chat directly to me. I won't wait for. If the moderator or the people who are co-host can identify the questions, I will give some priority in that way.
There's one question which says, how can we break silence if there is a conflict?
That is tough. Well, the most important thing is that is a sign that at least you are interested. It is not to break the silence. It's more about be hopeful. Be prepared for the worst sometimes. If you are the leader, if you are the person, you are the manager, you take more heat because you are responsible. You are in the driver's seat, right? In that case, you are willing to hear, maybe first session, allow your spouse to speak out everything what she or he want. Everything under the sun, good or bad. Are you willing for that? That is one way to break the silence. Don't talk back. Maybe you need 3 sessions for that. You just listen. That is one way to break the silence, which means you are silent, you allow your spouse to speak out. Thus, you have an idea what kind of damage you are making or what kind of misunderstanding going on in the marriage. Then you can evaluate, what actionable steps, the 10-step model can be applied after that. Next question.
Nothing in the chat at the moment, Doctor. So if there are anything to you directly, you can probably handle it.
Yes. I have a question which came to me that says, my spouse is very spiritual and praying, but she don't communicate with me. That's a very common situation that is happening in the Christian community. That we go to church, you pay the tithe, even you do the ministry, but somehow when it comes to intimacy, it's 2 different personalities. Somehow, some couple are living for eternity. They don't consider anything can be resolved here. They over spiritualize things. But our life in this planet is a preparation for eternity. That's how we see it. Okay? Your education, your work, your marital life, your parenting, your struggles, and everything to some extent is a preparation for eternity. Thus, marriage is not to make you to break your life, but to prepare you to be a better spouse. In the process, you can help other people. This is how you understand in an intimate relationship what is really working. Otherwise, how you can go and preach, take this gospel to a person, something which is not working in your personal life. This is a test of our faith. Sometimes it is a test of our calling to confirm who we are in Christ. Thus, definitely, we need to check and balance that when it comes to spirituality, our relationship with God, that is love. Same way our relationship with others, your spouse, is also built on love. When that is not the vertical relationship and the horizontal relationship, if it's not balanced, definitely you are not following the basic commandments. This is if you can summarize the whole commandments, when Jesus said loving God and loving people, which is not about loving neighbor first and loving your own spouse. That is the most and the foremost thing. When you fail in that, I think this is a false belief that we are prepared just for eternity. We have to prove ourselves in our life, in this generation, who we are. We need to be salt and light. There come forgiveness, there come love. And I want to encourage this person that we must practice to forgive, love, and as we communicate with God, remember to forgive your spouse also before you go to prayer. Any other question? As you are I know there are a few questions which I would like to take side. I'd like to share a small video clip, take only a minute, if you don't mind. This I will try. And we have an online course. A lot of people signed up for that, because what we are doing here is there are limitations what we can do in a seminar like this. We get maybe 2 or 3 seminars a year. That alone is not going to change much. How you can prepare yourself, for example, as a father, as a mother, as a husband or wife, or as a community person, as a pastor, you need to develop disciplined life, true discipleship. That is getting the right resources, right training, so that you are more confident to talk to your spouse. Otherwise, it will be all bombarded from all different, you won't be confident enough to help somebody. Thus, we have training, which I like to share this video clip quickly so that it may help you. That is one way to equip more people for this cause, and you can influence many people. Second. That was not the exact video I was looking for, but you have an idea what exactly I am looking at is, let me get into that course materials.
Most novel concept of web-based counseling training instituted by API was designed to introduce important concepts in counseling and demonstrate how to apply them in real-life situations.
This is one of the most widely used certificate program in the South Asian community. We have a faculty with professional background affiliated with major universities in the United States.
Dr. Thomas Idiculla from Harvard Medical School, Leslie Verghese from Baylor Scott & White, Dr. Shibu Cherian from United in the Word Ministries, Dr. Bradford Smith from Belhaven University, Dr. Michael Murphy from Harvard Medical School, Dr. John Petit from Harvard Medical School, Dr. Khaled Celestine from Gordon Conwell Seminary, Dr. Selin Phillip from Colorado Christian University serve as faculty with our training programs.
This program effectively prepares pastors and community leaders to excel in family and marriage counseling. Currently, we offer 3 courses. Course 1, Introduction to Christian Counseling, has 12 lectures focused on Christian counseling principles, most common family marriage issues, and mental health issues in the Indian community. Course 2, Family and Marriage Counseling, with 12 lectures focused on divine design of family and marriage, major mental health issues, as well as parenting challenges. Course 3, primarily focused on mental health counseling, has 12 lectures focused on mental health disorders among children, adults, and geriatric population. In the next 2 years, Agape is launching a new project in translating the counseling certification program in 6 Indian languages: Hindi, Gujarati, Oriya, Telugu, Tamil, and Malayalam. We are hoping to train 5,000 more counselors and pastors in counseling ministry and establish family counseling centers in the most needy places in India. APA is looking forward to collaborate with leaders, those who are working at the grassroots level in establishing such family-based counseling services. In these Sundays, it is expected that people can freely share their concerns and receive timely help during a crisis situation. For additional information, please visit Agape website at www.agapepartners.org. Again, www.agapepartners.org. Thank you and God bless you.
I know that there are more questions coming on this thing, and we have 3 more minutes, 11:15. We'd like to conclude. Other there is anyone else? Some of the questions I can handle separately. Now at this point, I see a very detailed, long question here. The contact information. Sorry, there's one. Someone asked for. Go to website. You can find all the information. Here is the website, and I'm typing the email also so that you can complete your. You get someone. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sending to the co-host. If you can share with the audience, that would be great. Yeah, one question that came up is what is next? Out of the things that is all shared by you, these are all excellent, great things, but what would be the one thing that I would reckon, because this couple is going through a lot of issues, where to start? I would say, I do not know whether both of you are listening, then the life becomes easy. If you both of them are not listening, definitely you need to be a little more careful. And one option is to allow this person to at least watch this video when the recording is available. Thus, you can bring both of you in the same page. Otherwise, you alone going to discuss problems and issues that trigger another issue. That is the one thing I would recommend. The second thing, what I would suggest is can you apply this, identify one problem, not 10 problems, one problem which is the most difficult one, at the same time, the easiest one to fix. That's a difficult combination. You know, that is I consider as a critical issue. You follow? You may have many issues. Identify the problem that is most important for you, not the most difficult one, most important for you. You have to prioritize that. At the same time, you believe both of you can resolve this very quickly. That is what I would recommend in terms of what is the next step. And if you are the person who are mature, or you are the person who are spiritual, then be forgiving. Listen from your spouse all the possible. They are not trying to apply any principles that you learn here, but just be a listener. That is the quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to get angry. Use that methodology in your conversation. Then come back to me next week or so, how you are doing. I'm more than happy to help you.
There's one question on the chat. It says, what if one partner is working in the marriage?
One partner working in the marriage. Oh, it's a one-sided thing, I see. Well, yeah. I would apply the same principle that I shared this now, that you have to first give some ground rules by watching a good video, or not talking about your marriage problems. What are the common marriage problems in any couple's life? And sometimes couples believe that they are the only one going through all these problems. Thus, as I said, 60% of the couples are going through problems. Thus, that will definitely de-escalate the situation. Thus, this is a common problem. Second thing, what I would say is you may take more responsibility of that, not the other person. Then in the process, that person may get it. Once you bring person, at this point, it's like the resume or the curriculum vitae, all these things sent for a job just to get a job interview, correct? To get a call. Thus, it is once you come to the table, that's the point where you freely talk. Thus, when you have that opportunity, just again listen. Never take the role of a counselor when you think, though I have all these rules there, you attended this seminar. No, that be more humble. Just listen and listen. It may take several sessions, several discussions, sometimes several fights, up and downs. You take different turns, and then you have to pray. Sometimes you don't need to pray loud. You can hold your spouse's hands and just be silent for some time. Because if you pray, sometimes it may irritate one another. Just be silent and pray to God. Thus, there is a process. Take your own time. Then be positive. And when you make mistakes, you say sorry. Thus, I think there is a way out. As long as, but you allow God to work in your life too. It's not by might, not by power, but by the Spirit of God. Thus, you need to allow the Holy Spirit to work in your life too, in addition to everything that is happening. Thus, thank you so much for the time. And I know that you have more questions. This is just you opened up the question. But as we are moving forward with the help of God, you all shall be all right. Thus, whenever you need help, make sure that you reach help, and help is available. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Doctor. We appreciate the time you took today morning to speak to us on a very important subject. You know, at some point of time, your network was pretty unstable. I don't know whether you noticed it, but I was just hoping and praying that we won't have a second problem this time around. So we started generating some prayer, because you see, the devil does not like the subject. And last time we had a problem, and this time he was bringing a network issue, especially on your side, when technically you should not have a network issue at all. But it moved from red to amber to white, and it kept oscillating between the three network issues. But thank God we were able to pull it off today, and we've got this recorded. So thank you for your time. Thank you for sparing your valuable time with us and those great points. Some of you have shown your interest